The host of RingsideReport.net is here in studio breaking down MMA as usual. You can hear him on TSN 990 Wednesdays and Friday nights at 10 p.m. You can follow him on Twitter.com/DaveSimonMMA. It is Dave Simon.
Yes.
Now, Dave, Strikeforce.
Yes.
The card was last night. The tweets were last night as well. And the highly anticipated fight, which you built up here on this program, did it deliver?
Well,
the female fight.
I don't know. I mean, it only lasted 54 seconds. Ronda Rousey, though, delivered. She delivered another performance that she is famous for. A first-round armbar submission. She has won now 6 professional fights, all 6 of her wins coming within the first round, all coming via armbar submission. And she was able to get Sarah Kaufman in just 54 seconds last night. Ronda coming in.
Who's no slouch, by the way.
Sarah Kaufman is 15-1, now 15-2. From Victoria, British Columbia. She's a former Strikeforce world champion. She is a very, very tough fighter, and Ronda Rousey beat her very quickly. I was surprised at how quickly she beat her. I think that maybe Sarah is wishing she would have implemented a different game plan. She let Ronda Rousey close the distance and get her in a clinch pretty much right away. Ronda charged in, threw a couple punches, and Sarah decided to engage in kind of a brawl. And Ronda, I think, drew her into her game plan, got her clinched up, looked for the takedown. Kaufman tried to defend the takedown, but was unable to, as Ronda Rousey, a bronze medalist in the 2008 Beijing Olympics for the United States in judo. She is excellent at taking her opponents to the ground and snapping them right into that armbar. That's what she did to Sarah Kaufman. Sarah trying to lock her hands together to defend against that armbar, but Ronda rolling her and getting her to finally release that arm and submit. A very, very impressive performance from Ronda Rousey. She's the real deal.
What was the fan reaction like for a women's fight? If you haven't watched women's fighting, some stick only to the UFC main cards, and if you haven't checked out, like for instance, a Strikeforce card, which does have these women fighters, Dave, what's the reaction like? How exciting is it?
It's very exciting. I think people were very, very excited for the Ronda Rousey fight. I think that was the fight that people wanted to see, and that was the fight that people were tuning in for last night. Ronda got a huge ovation from the crowd. I think it was very well received, and I think that the fight of the night was another women's fight, Miesha Tate and Julie Kedzie in the prelims. Miesha Tate with a beautiful armbar submission to tap out Kedzie in the third round. One hell of a fight there. Some good women's fights on the card last night. And I think it's well received. The whole MMA world was tuned in. You saw, the tweets there. People were paying attention to this fight. They were talking about this fight. And I think it delivered. I think the question now is, what's next for Ronda Rousey? Who's going to step up and face her? She seems unstoppable at 135 pounds.
Are there other big female names, maybe a category higher or lower, that they can consider matching her up against?
Well, there isn't really a strong division at 125 pounds, so lower wouldn't work, but higher would work, as the 145-pound world champion Christiane Cyborg Santos, she was suspended for steroids, but she can reapply for a license in December. So there's a possibility of Cyborg coming back out.
What was her record like?
Pretty much undefeated. I think she had lost once in Brazil very early in her career, but she was tearing through women's MMA. She destroyed Hiroko Yamanaka in December, but was then tested positive for steroids, suspended for a year. So there were question marks as to was Cyborg legit when she was beating all those people? I think that she was. She was tested in all those other fights when she crushed, the Gina Carano's of the world. And, she was, I think, the first big star in MMA. And her fight with Gina Carano a few years ago was that big women's MMA fight that I don't think was trumped as far as, popularity and interest until last night. So I think that if you're really going to get this super fight, it would be Cyborg Santos against Ronda Rousey. Ronda calling her out last night, but saying, come down and fight me at 135. Now, Cyborg is the 145 champion, and she has said she couldn't make 145 or 135. She's said this in interviews. She's made it very clear it's just not possible for her to drop down to 135 and fight. She said she would fight Ronda Rousey at a catch weight of 140 pounds, and I think that's where it's got to happen. I don't think you need a belt on the line. I don't think you need to have this in any kind of weight class. I think you just need this fight to go down, Rousey versus Cyborg. Ronda Rousey, if she wants to go up and try to become the Strikeforce featherweight champion and go back up to 145, I think she's able to do that, as Ronda, before she ever fought at 135, was a 145er and has 4 of her 6 wins in that weight category. So she can definitely move up. But last night she was telling Cyborg to move down. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but there's going to be an issue as to where that weight will be fought at. And,
here we go. It's like Pacquiao and Mayweather all over again, huh?
Yeah, but I think that they're going to get this fight together because Cyborg and Ronda both want to fight each other.
They need each other.
And I think the sport needs this fight right now. This is the big fight that you need to see. Cyborg,
and Strikeforce needs it. They have few cards that they can play as that UFC doesn't have.
Yeah, hopefully they can get this fight done in December. I know Ronda Rousey said she wanted to get it done in December or January, and hopefully they can get that done. I think that it would be a huge fight for Strikeforce and a huge fight for women's MMA, which the home.
Dave Simon, if it happens, I promise you I'll watch it.
All right. Well, you should have been watching last night. I don't know what you were doing. But, Strikeforce, it really is the home of women's MMA, so a big night last night. But there are other promotions now. Invicta FC has put together 2 all-women's MMA cards, and they've done pretty well for themselves. So I think that, after last night and after what we've seen all this year, the sport of women's MMA is very strong.
Dave Simon chatting some MMA with us here on the program. Any other big news out of last night's card?
Well, we had the former Strikeforce middleweight champion, Ronaldo Jacare Souza, a beautiful knockout, just 41 seconds into the first round, knocking out Derek Brunson. That was the co-main event. That was a late stoppage there by the referee. This dude with this ridiculously huge mustache was very, very bad. There was a fight earlier in the night where the guy got knocked out in the first round, and the referee, for some reason, let him fight. He was able to come back, but then he got knocked out again in the third round, which is very, very dangerous. It's terrible for the brain. So bad stuff by the refereeing, but good stuff from Jacare, the former champion, who lost to the current champion, Luke Rockhold, in a 5-round controversial decision. It looks as though Jacare will get his rematch now with Luke Rockhold. That's another big fight for Strikeforce, and one I'm looking forward to. Big fan of Jacare. And
you're on Wednesday at 10 this week?
Wednesday, 10 p.m., we're going to preview Bellator 73. Bellator is back on Friday night, so Wednesday night we'll preview that card. We'll also have some different guests and different things going on, so Wednesday and Friday this week at 10 p.m.